Let's go through and review how we do all operations with decimals. So our first problem we're going to do is addition. We're going to add 45 and 3/10 and 2 and 49 hundredths. When we add and subtract decimals, we are going to line up the decimals. So I'm going to write down 45 and 3/10. And when I write down 2 and 49 hundredths, I'm going to make sure I line up those decimals. Once I line my decimals up, I want to annex a 0, fill in those blanks, and now I can add. So 9 plus 0 is 9. 4 plus 3 is 7. I want to bring my decimals straight down in my answer and my sum. And then 5 plus 2 is 7, and 4 plus 0 is 4. So I made sure that I lined up my decimals when I added, and then I bring my decimal down into my sum. Now, when we subtract decimals, we do the same thing as adding. We have to line up our decimals, and so we get our place value lined up. So let's look at this problem. We have, it says subtract 52 and 38 hundredths from 96 and 8/10. When I look at these two numbers, I have to decide which is my greater number. That's the number I want to go on top. 96 and 8/10 is my greatest number, so I'm going to write it on top. And then when I line up my decimals, I'm going to have 52 and 38 hundredths lined up like this. I want to annex a 0, fill in that blank, and now I can start subtracting. I cannot say 0 minus 8, so I'm going to have to regroup. I'm going to go next door. My 8 becomes a 7, and this 0 becomes a 10. Now I can say 10 minus 8 is 2. 7 minus 3 is 4. I'm going to bring down my decimal. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 9 minus 5 is 4. Goodness gracious, I have a lot of 4s in there. So my answer is 44 and 42 hundredths. Now we're going to change gears when we start looking at multiplying. We're not going to line up the decimals when we multiply. We want to put the longer number on top. So if I have 48 and 3/10, and then I'm going to take my second number, 5 and 7/10, and I'm going to line it up against the right side of my problem. So I want my numbers to line up on the right side of my problem. And coincidentally, these decimals do line up, but we did not do that on purpose. We lined the numbers up on the right side. So now some of you might want to do turtle head, and if you don't want to do turtle head, that's fine. It's just a little story we tell to help us remember the steps, but we're going to start multiplying in the ones place. So 7 times 3 is 21. I'm going to carry my 2. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 2 more is 58. And 7 times 4 is 28, plus 5 is 32. Now I'm going to annex my 0. I'm going to cross off the number I just multiplied by, and I'm going to cross off my carried numbers. And now I'm going to multiply by the number in the tens place. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1 more is 41. And 5 times 4 is 20, plus 4 more is 24. And then I can add, that's 13, that's 4, 7, 2. My last step, I need to go back to my problem and I need to see how many numbers there are after the decimals. So in 48 and 3/10, there's one digit after the decimal there. In 5 and 7/10, there's one number after the decimal there. So I'm going to go down to my product and I'm going to start at the right, and I'm going to hop however many decimal places there were in my problem. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So I'm going to hop over 2 times and I'm going to place my decimal there. So my answer is 274 and 31 hundredths. And now dividing decimals is different again. So adding and subtracting, we line up the decimals. Multiplying, we do not line up the decimals. Dividing, we're not going to line up decimals either. So it says divide 31 and 8/10 by 6. So 31 and 8/10 divided by 6. Now what I'm going to do is I'm pretty much going to just ignore the decimals right now. And I'm going to divide using standard algorithm. So I'm going to say, can I share 3 cookies with 6 kids? No, I cannot do that, so I'm going to put a 0 up there. Can I share 31 cookies with 6 kids? Yes, I can. Each kid would get 5 cookies. Now 5 times 6 is 30. I'm going to subtract and get 1, and then I'm going to bring down my 8. So now I want to divide 18 by 6. So can I share 18 cookies with 6 kids? Yes, I can. Each kid would get 3 cookies. 3 times 6 is 18. I subtract and I get a 0. Once I have a remainder of 0 and there's nothing else to bring down, I can go up in my problem and I can bring my decimal straight up in my quotient. So my answer there is 5 3/10. Now what we want you to do is you need to go ahead and take your paper that's in the playlist folder, and you need to go ahead and complete all of the operation problems with decimals. When you're finished, you need to turn it in the basket for a grade from your teacher. So make sure and ask if you have any questions, but this should be a good review for you to get started.